Every day, people go about their business believing they are the ones in control of their decisions. Everyone believes wholeheartedly that each choice they make is a result of careful and intelligent analysis. They simply pick the solution that fits best to each challenge and each problem. But what if our decisions are instead carefully crafted by something outside of ourselves and inserted into us by forces we know little about? In fact, what if you are not really making the majority of your choices at all? What if you're operating in a system where you're meant to believe that you're in complete control because it's that exact belief that makes controlling you so much easier? You think you're too evolved to be tricked in this way, which leaves you blind. What if the smarter you believe you are, the easier you are to mind control? Could this potentially explain the cycles of misery and self-doubt that you're experiencing in your life? Could this explain your self-destructive and self-abusive addictions, plus all of the other illogical and irrational behaviors you've participated in over your lifetime? Could this not explain your failure to get ahead, regardless of how much you tried? What if I could prove to you that your life direction has always been designed to follow a negative trajectory, and that your true potential is being purposely subverted? Let me ask you a simple question. Is it easier to rule strong, healthy, and independent people? Or is it easier to rule weak, diseased, and dependent people? Have you ever thought that question through and tried to connect the dots as to what you see in our society today? What if I could demonstrate that the less you know about this topic, the easier it is for these outside forces to control your thoughts, ideas, and actions? What if I could prove to you, without any shadow of a doubt, that nothing works the way you think it does? That your failures, misery, hardships, disease, struggles, and pain have all been socially engineered into you by forces that operate from the shadows outside your conscious awareness? And finally, what if I could show you that by identifying and understanding these influences, you could not only avoid the negative trajectory, but you could even direct these forces toward your own success? You can use mind control on yourself to pursue your dreams. I will make a promise to you. I promise to prove all of this and much more during this film. Welcome to Planet Mind Control.
Good morning. Welcome to the Nova Scotia Free Speech Bulletin podcast. It's not an April Fool's joke. We welcome Jason Christoff from Latvia, I believe. Good morning.
Good morning, Tony. And yeah, I forgot it was April Fool's Day, but yeah, it seems every day is April Fool's Day the past 5 years. So
things don't seem to be getting any better, Jason. You have a documentary out called Planet Mind Control. Do you think we're being controlled by people?
Well, in this documentary, which is free, by the way, and it's made so everybody can understand, yes, they are indeed being controlled by their screens and by government announcements, by the radio, by, the TV shows, the movies, the print media, National Geographic, Time Magazine. They're all in on the game. And if you don't know you're being surrounded and you don't understand anything about mind control or how easy it is to put a human under mind control, or how quickly it can be done, up to and including everybody who believes they're too smart to be put under mind control. I do advise them watch the documentary at planetmindcontrol.com. There's a trailer there, and underneath the trailer is a spot for your email. Now, if you put your email in and press OK or whatever the button is, you'll get the full film for free, and it will teach you everything you need to know about why we're in the predicament we're in. We're getting sucked into a system that has no limit on how much money it can take from the average person. And once the dictator is voted in, as they say, there's no remedies for us as people to remove them. So we're in this system where there's no top level ceiling to how much financial extraction they can take from us, the people. And most people today, I think they said 60% of Americans, and I know we're both Canadian, but 60% of Americans live check to check. So a lot of people don't have that wiggle room, and the requirements of the ruling group just keep going up financially. So we're in this situation where mind control is used to make that seem okay, and to normalize it, and to make us feel comfortable in our misery. We've been sort of stewing in our own misery so long, and psychologically, there's a point in all people's sort of nervous system where if they're being miserable so long, being happier is actually scares them. Being free scares them. Like to a slave, there are lots of stories about trying to break out people from slavery hundreds of years ago, and they found out that their biggest fear as a slave is true freedom, simply because they don't have any script for that. Like they don't know what that day looks like. So when you normalize something, the opposite could be the thing that scares you the most. And we're being impoverished and enslaved and beaten down and marginalized so much that even if you offered a lot of people a better day or a better idea, it might actually frighten them. And, there's something else called Stockholm Syndrome or battered woman syndrome or trauma bonding, where it's shown that if you abuse a human long enough, and a lot of Canadians are under all three of these modalities of control, that you can change the nervous system where the only adaptation to constant abuse is to try to appease your abuser and ignore the abuse that you're continually under. And that could also be said for the Canadian population as well, as they're trauma bonded with their government. They have battered woman syndrome, or the same effect. They have Stockholm syndrome. Like Stockholm syndrome was observed in Stockholm, Sweden in the 70s in a bank robbery where I think the bank was under heist 4 or 5 days by some very dark individuals. And what happened is that what happens to all humans that are scared, a lot of the bank tellers who were female started to swoon and sort of offer, favors and sexual favors to find preference with the abusers and the jailers. So we're seeing a lot of that today in Canada as well, where, the most abused of our population are swooning to the feet and the ankles and the apron strings of the corrupt politicians that are constantly giving us the back of the hand. So, Canada psychologically is in some big trouble. And for them to find out sort of step one of how, Canadians are tricked to accept this, Planet Mind Control is a great documentary to start with, and it's free, and it was made to be free because I care about all Canadians. I care about everybody's family there. I care about their kids. I don't care what color they are. I don't care their sexual orientation. No one deserves to be treated like this and extorted like this and abused like this, regardless of what country we're talking about.
Jason, can people, I should put it this way, are they using subliminal messages on TV? And is the mRNA helping with the mind control on people? Like, is the mRNA changing the DNA? I think that's how it goes.
Well,
Or is it just
yeah,
all mind control, or is it a combination of all these things?
it's a combination of them all. So there's a book called The Indoctrinated Brain, pretty popular. It was by a doctor called Michael Nehls, Nehls. And he was big in the dementia field. So he knows what causes brain damage and he knows the effects of it. So he was traveling with me a couple times speaking, and his information is very important. So he got invited on to speak with Tucker Carlson. That, and this is when Tucker was growing his following. I think Tucker Carlson got about 5 or 6 million people now on YouTube. And most of Tucker Carlson's interviews stay on YouTube, even though the restrictions have been, relaxed a little bit. Not many things will get strucken off that website anymore. But Michael Nells's interview certainly did. You're not going to find that on YouTube. You'll have to find it on like Rumble or Odyssey or BitChute. And he's talking to Tucker, and he's talking about the ingredients in the shot specifically affect the hippocampus. Now, the hippocampus is, right up this doctor's alley in regards to what it's for and what happens to your brain if it gets damaged. And he had proven that the ingredients in the shot damage the hippocampus. So the thing about the hippocampus is that sort of at night, it will upload your memories so they get cataloged properly. And if the the hippocampus grows sort of like, when you got one of those memory chips on your computer and you stick it into the USB port and you can transfer information back and forth? Well, the hippocampus grows the USB port so that you can upload your new day's memories and then configure them so that your experience benefits you for future better decisions. Like your library in your life, what works better in Halifax, what works better wherever you are. So if the hippocampus doesn't grow the USB port, the body actually hijacks an old USB stick, erases its memory, and uploads the new memory. So when you interfere with hippocampal neurogenesis, it's called, and the shot ingredients did that, you start losing long-term memories out, and you're not going to be conscious of it. So you might be really superly tyrannically ruled and abused today, but you don't realize that you don't have the memory from the past to make a comparison to, so that you can realize that your freedom and your enjoyment, your happiness, and all the great things of life are being on a downward trajectory on a consistent basis, because something really bizarre and dark is going on. You lose your ability to gain perspective from the past. So these ingredients are not only famous for causing heart attacks, causing strokes, but they're also famous for interfering with hippocampal neurogenesis, which is the ability for you to remember the past. So if I was in the ruling group and I was just going to turn the heat up, make sure you have less money, you have less freedoms, you have less happiness, less contentment, less opportunities, as a ruler, I'd really like to do that to you, so that you just wake up one day completely like in a 15 minutes zone, and you can't even remember what real freedom smelled or tasted like or looked like. I think that would be a big advantage to me, right? So, and people should know too that, these ingredients, whatever was in those, what I call arm darts, whatever was in them, there's now been a legal case brought to the Netherlands court, which shows documentation from the Epstein files, so an admittance by email that Epstein, Gates, and his dark group were planning the armed dart attack, but they were planning it in 2017, and they said it was obviously going to be faked by them on every account, a fake emergency, a fake threat. And they document this in 2017, fake testing, fake propaganda. I mean, propaganda is fake by its very definition. So people need to realize not only did they potentially succumb to this very dangerous agenda, this group in 2017 said they were going to organize it for profit to actually get rid, and it's their words, not mine, I'm not adding to it, to get rid of the dumb people.
So what do you think of the Epstein files?
I think they came out for a reason, and they really show the underbelly of the group that we're dealing with. And, these are people, unfortunately, if you go through all the Epstein files and focus on the main areas of concern, is that, they do like to have sex with children. They do like to ritually sacrifice the children. Now, I'm not adding, just to add effect to my commentary. That's in the files, that they like, killing children and sort of participating in ancient rituals, energy rituals involving what they call like death magic. And they also are known to eat the children.
That's disgusting. This is all disgusting, Jason.
Yeah, well, this is not uncommon, but people like me, I've been writing about these rituals. Like one of my friends is Max Lowen, so you can look up Max Lowen, Lowen. I've been on podcasts with Kathy O'Brien, who are survivors of these attacks, and they were witnesses as children to, this is why they call them pedivores. So they're eating children, they're sacrificing children, and so one main Canadian ruling family that I won't mention, and you can look into a lady called Annick Lucas, so Anneke, and Lucas is Lucas. A prominent Canadian ruling family comes up multiple times in the narrative coming from Kathy O'Brien and Annick Lucas, two people who don't know each other whatsoever. So Canada is in a position where, like everybody else, and it's no fault of their own, Tony, and there's this cornerstone, if you want me to talk about it, but there's a cornerstone, sort of like the power source that drives all a Canadian's misery. So if a Canadian's sort of pseudo miserable today, there is this like one building block to it all. And if they can just address that one building block, their life will get better like instantly.
You're talking about mind control, correct?
No, yeah,
No?
no, it is. It's mind control in its own sense. But the thing is, if we can take, whoever's listening to this, we'll take you on a journey, and we'll go back to Vince McMahon and the World Wrestling Federation, even though it's not called that today. And there's two wrestlers. And when you go, like even if you do go as a participant and say you bring your child, You know it's fake, and you know the wrestlers, they're not really fighting, and you know that they actually receive the checks from the same person, and the script is all hashed out, sometimes with the wrestlers' consent, but most times without it. And they're actors, and their job is to put on the show, and there's a profit motive so that you keep coming to the show. And even though you know it's fake, if you sit in the stadium, you're watching Hulk Hogan versus Stone Cold Steve Austin, although you know it's fake, it's sort of entertaining, and it keeps your eyes on the spectacle. And it might be so entertaining you come back another time because you were so emotionally involved in the narrative. So the cornerstone of a Canadian's misery is the same cornerstone as other countries and people that are miserable there, is that you don't see your politics as wrestling. So if you see, you have to understand is it doesn't matter if we even take Iran, or I'm on the Russian border right now. They both, like, okay, so Iran's supposed to be like a radical Islamist country that doesn't trust or like the West, but they went after their own citizens with the AstraZeneca shot from Spain. So why would an Islamic country doesn't trust the West buy the shot that was originated and manufactured by Gates, Epstein, and the ruling group for profit only? Why would they buy that from Spain, a Western country, if you had so much disdain and you had like a protective bubble over your Islamic group? And then in Russia, too, they had their own, they bought the AstraZeneca, too. They called it the Sputnik V. Both countries locked down, both countries masked up, both countries attacked people that were telling truthful narratives. Both had essential and non-essential business. They attacked everybody in the same way. So if you go to North America, Canada, the US, everybody did the same thing because it's wrestling. And when you think that they're really fighting, you've actually contracted yourself in an energy wheel where you're going to suffer immensely. So when you think that, you know, your wrestler in Canada came on the stage and they all sort of wear the same costume, but they say different things, just like wrestlers say different things. And maybe a year ago, you know, someone was telling you elbows up. We're going to go hard at the other wrestler, and we're going to make you think that there's no top-level boss paying either of them. I mean, this is also why the progressive, it doesn't matter who's in power in Canada, Tony, the second party with the most seats is called the King's Loyal opposition.
They're all on the same team, correct?
They're all on the same team. So this is hard for the Canadians to understand. Like if you go to the coffee shop, and I understand that there's a lot of mind control like behind this, because I've spoken on mind control at the US Senate and at EU Parliament, Japanese Parliament, Romanian Parliament. I've gone around the world speaking on mind control. So yeah, I know you believe the wrestlers are really fighting. And I know why you think they're really fighting, because every story ever told to you since the day you could even understand anything is they told you the wrestlers were really fighting, right? And again, it doesn't matter who's in power federally. This party that has the second most seats is called the King's Loyal Opposition, because loyalty to the big top level boss that writes all the checks and tells all the wrestlers what to do. And the thing is about the wrestlers, it's not just blue versus red wrestler here in Canada. The orange wrestler south of the border that people get really mad because they love a good story, Tony. They
So
love a good narrative.
Donald Trump isn't our savior either. And
Well,
you know
he,
what? You know what woke me up to him, Jason? He didn't stop the needles. If he was really for us, he would stop this depopulation agenda.
but for him to get in, he had to say the certain lines that you and the wrestling audience wanted to hear. So your hope that he was finally a good guy is part of the script. Like you're only reacting because you're watching the spectacle. Now it's only $150 to watch a wrestling spectacle. It's 40 to 60% of your income to watch the political wrestling. So if you think Vince McMahon, who's ranked probably $1.7 billion, he was the CEO of the World Wrestling Federation. I've never been to a wrestling match. He's done pretty well for only putting some people into the stadium. Imagine the profit, Tony, of the average coffee shop guy who gives 40 to 60% of his income to watch and participate in this spectacle. So, I mean, I will tell you, like, it's so easy, Tony. Who started Canada? It was the UK Royals. I mean, there was a bit of a battle between them and their relatives in France, but eventually, UK Royals, 13 colonies in the United States, UK Royals, UK itself, UK Royals, India, Pakistan, Australia, Israel, Lord Balfour, he was UK, UK connected. So all these countries are run by one top level boss. They all do what they're told to do at the exact time they're told to do it. And the average person will have a completely miserable life because to watch this show and to curse about this show. I mean, a lot of people curse about the TV shows they watch. Oh, I can't believe this guy did this and this series on Netflix, and I can't believe. Did you see that? They're so emotionally involved, Tony's. But the thing is, the cost of being emotionally involved with this wrestling match is 40 to 60% of your income, which means they can put on whatever show they want. They can rent aircraft carriers. They can buy movie studios. They can buy news reports. It doesn't, it's a drop in the bucket to the budget of keeping the average Canadian believing, that elbows up, red man is going to fly off the third turnbuckle and give a flying elbow to the orange goblin to the south when they're both operated by the one top level boss. That is why the average Canadian is drowning in financial debt, spiritual debt, and physical debt.
Do you know that in Ontario, the government is going to be opening grocery stores? They're going to be government-owned grocery stores. You can see where Canada is headed, can't you, Jason? Complete communist control. I'm sitting questioning, I wonder where all these grocers are going to disappear. The stealing is gone rapid. It's going crazy in the stores. People dashing off with gas besides. Like Canada is really in trouble, and they're heading us down that path big time.
Yeah, and again, that's because everybody thinks that, it's just a bad government, or it's just one bad person. If we got the other wrestler in, things would be different. But the red wrestler that's there right now, the elbows up wrestler with the tight red thong on, he doesn't control anything. And if Pierre Polyev comes in, he doesn't control anything either. He just gets told it's the same agenda pushed down the road. When you walk, it's left foot, right foot, left foot, right foot. That's how you move ahead. That's how you take a stroll. So when you're pushing any agenda, and this agenda is the full control of all Canadian resources to the detriment of the Canadians. So even if there was a government grocery store, and this group isn't interested in making sure you're healthy, all they know is that if we feed the slave class poison, they're more agreeable. They're more easy to fall under our Stockholm syndrome or our battered woman syndrome. Like if there's a man beating a woman and she's a 10th degree black belt with brass knuckles, the beating doesn't go so well. Now, if you have a population that's overweight and arm dart poisoned and really not very bright, because the school system is designed, they actually admit it, it's designed to destroy intelligence. This is why the Canadians are getting manhandled, because they don't have any defenses. And whatever they're going to put in the grocery shop, it'll probably be next to the weed shop and the liquor store and the psilocybin shop, and in Vancouver next to the cocaine shop and the fentanyl shop and the heroin shop. And they're doing all this to Canadians because the weaker you make your population, the less they rebel, because they just don't have the physical or mental resilience to say no. They're living check to check. They're already 60 pounds overweight. Their ding dong doesn't work anymore. And their brain fell out their wazoo a long time ago, and all they want to do is go along to get along, get to their next glass of wine or their next Netflix series, and that's a population that's easy to steamroll. And so what we're seeing today is the results of the steamrolling, the inability of the Canadian to say no, that we're not going to go along with this anymore, that we know you're wrestlers, we know you're both in on it. And the big wrestle match in North America is the top level boss who controls both Elbows Up wrestler and the Orange Goblin wrestler has already told Elbows Up wrestler to bankrupt the country and make Canadians so miserable that they beg the Orange Goblin to come over. And that's well underway, but can you imagine the amount of destruction it's going to take to make the Canadian people beg the Orange Goblin wrestler to come save them? But that's the script that's in play. That's what awaits Canadians. It's that sort of destruction is in the script, because you have to participate as someone in the audience of the wrestling show.
Now, Jason, are you aware of Gordon Berry? He started a constitutional party in Canada. I don't feel he's part of the elite. His party wants to leave to get elected and start a new constitution for Canada, people for the people. Separate from that, Peter McIsaac getting different independents in government to make changes. There's a bunch of court challenges in Nova Scotia because Timmy Houston didn't want any independents to run. How do we get out of this, Jason? Yeah, are these options for Canadians too? I did send you Gordon Berry's Facebook and his. I think he speaks really well. I think he should be at least listened to, but it's obviously the Liberals, the Conservatives, the NDP aren't here for us. We're trillions of dollars in debt, 1.8 billion just in Nova Scotia alone. We are in debt, and they're just like you say, they're on the same team.
They're all on the same team. It's not going to matter who's in. They all share one philosophical belief. Less for you, more for them, more power for them, and less power for you, so that you never figure out how much of a scam this entire system is, and that they don't need your money, your tax revenue for the roads. They only need it so that you don't have it. It's another disempowering sort of tool they have, is just to remove it from you so you don't have an extra hour in the day to research how much of scam artists this entire system has been your entire life and the life of your grandparents and the life of your great-grandparents, to extract the wealth inch by inch to where 100% extraction is completely normal, and you'll just go along with it. So the solution is very simple. The crux of the control is a weak population who doesn't know how to say no. So when you go down to the harbor in Halifax, my parents lived there, you're going to see some people that are sort of addicted to pleasure. It can show in their way they speak. It can show in their bodies. It can show in their bank accounts. They're infected by a perpetual titillation virus. And everything they're addicted to and the activities they really like, drinking, smoking, vaping, pornography, marijuana, it all weakens the human animal.
What about
Now,
coffee?
Coffee is one. Yeah, we could leave coffee up there because it is their favorite poison. I have to let you know. That the research on coffee is very concrete, that you can go read about it in the book Caffeine Blues by Stephen Chernisky. I do a lot, 25 minutes, the coffee in my documentary so people can understand I'm not out there to make you miserable or piss you off about any sort of negative light shining on your coffee, because I know it's the most addictive drug in the world and it's the most widely used psychoactive drug in the world as well. It causes the same sort of brain damage, the hippocampal neurogenesis, as the COVID shot. And that's the reason that, like, if you just put in caffeine, hippocampal neurogenesis into your search engine, you'll see that's what coffee does. So it causes a very particular kind of brain damage. And it's a brain damage that has a massive advantage for people, ruling groups who don't want you to remember the past. And don't forget Bill Gates and his dad, William Gates Sr., they bought Starbucks when it only had 11 shops. Them and Howard Schultz, who was the ex-CEO, bought it in Seattle in 1987 when it only had 11 shops. So we know what the Gates family is into. They're in Planned Parenthood. They're into what's called eugenics, which is the elimination of the dumb people again. And we see that phrase used in the Epstein files with Gates again, that they were going to pre-plan the COVID attack in 2017 to take out the dumb people. So Gates was the original seed funder. So why would someone like Gates, who wants, like, nothing at Starbucks would do anything but choke a maggot? Like, it is just either pesticide-laden or glyphosate-laden gluten bread, or chemical-laced sweeteners, or coffee. So it's just poison from front to back. And, you know, this is the cheese that traps the mouse in the mouse trap, because the average Canadian and world, other people too, not just Canadians, everybody is out there going from one good time event, you know, having their coffee and kind of zoning out before work, then having some treat, like some sweets, maybe someone has a birthday cake at work, then at noon they're having some more poison, drinking wine at night, smoking a joint on the next break. And really, they're so weak, they're domesticated lion at the New York City Zoo. Their teeth are dull, they don't know how to hunt anymore. You know, they're not very violent. They're more like lap dogs. And of course, that is all organized by this group. They're very old. They've been working the levers of this horse and pony show a long time. So if you're out there and you're weak, I mean, this is the result of this group's multi-generational con job. And the solution is you got to deal with your addictions to pleasure. And you got to learn the benefit of suffering. Like, if you don't have your wine, you're going to suffer. But maybe you're suffering, like, okay, so you don't drink your wine. Real life sucks because you come into contact with it, so it really sucks. But the reason it sucks is because you're so sedated for the last decade. you let your life slip by. You never accomplished anything by punching in and out of a job you didn't like and watching Netflix at night and doing your 2 to 3 vacations a year. Of course you're depressed. Of course it sucks. Of course it's hard to face a shitty, meaningless, mundane life like that. You got to do something about it. And, not sedating starts the suffering. Then you got to work to change it, which increases the suffering, and then it gets good. So nothing good comes unless you're willing to suffer and put some elbow grease into it. And that's not just voting for the red wrestler to go fight the orange goblin in some WrestleMania event, and you just go back to your mundane existence. That isn't how you're going to get out of this.
Well, how are we going to overcome these gas prices? You talk about overcoming all this stuff, these gas prices and excess deaths are dragging people down. I know I probably lost 8 or 9 people in my family the last 5 years, Jason, 8 or 9 people. And they all trusted the government. They all believed in the government.
They believe the wrestling show, Tony.
Yes, they believed the wrestling show.
Yeah, they thought the wrestlers were really fighting, right? They thought the wrestlers were there to, entertain them when really it's about profit. And there's great profit in death of the public. I'm not too sure if people understand that if you're 55 years old and your pension kicks in at 65 and you worked at the Ford auto plant, well, Ford benefits a lot if you're dead. And so does the Social Security in Canada, whatever they name it now. They don't have to pay you either. Now, someone says, oh, your pension from Ford will go to your wife. Well, they're trying to kill your wife too, right?
Well, yeah, they're trying to kill everybody.
They're trying to kill. Yeah, but the thing is, here's the big rub. They ain't killing anybody. They're using mind control, so you kill yourself. And the reason they're doing that is so you're not so upset when you die or one of your family members are picked off, because they did it to themselves, usually based on them not heeding your warning. And in the legal system, there is no remedy if mind control and propaganda and brainwashing are used to get you to go arm dart yourself right up to the pearly gates. So everything this group does is very well calculated. Yeah, how are we going to deal with the high gas prices? Well, we don't have a choice. The stronger you are, the easier it is. And strong, too, means financially strong. And I'll be honest with you, Tony, when I was, watching the wrestling as a young man, and believing everything about the wrestling show, I used to, drink alcohol, do steroids, sniff cocaine, eat psilocybin mushrooms, and, basically put my hand down my pants and waste the day away. And I used to spend $25,000 Canadian a year on alcohol and cocaine and steroids. And I stopped doing that 20 years ago, and I still have whatever that adds up to. $500,000. I got that $500,000 right now because I stopped using it to kill myself, right? So even
we do that a lot, don't we? I mean, I'm guilty of eating junk food.
It's a big budget.
Yeah.
And don't forget, if you would have put $1,000 in Bitcoin in 2010, you'd have like $200 million right now. And someone says, oh, well, I missed the Bitcoin. Well, yeah, I know you missed the Bitcoin, but there's other investments out there that can do an equal amount of return over a decade or two. And someone says, well, I don't have a lot of money. Well, even if you put $500 in Bitcoin in 2010, you'd still have 100 million today. I mean, you have to think about it like that. Like I bought silver when it was $20 Canadian. It got up to $150 Canadian. That was, 15 times my investment over a 5-year period. And let's say I put in $100,000, I'd have $1.5 million. And where did I get the original 100,000? Well, I just stopped killing myself by my own hand and took control of my life and became a stronger human being so that when the gas prices go up, it's like 25 euro. I live in Europe, 25 euro extra now per fill up. I got it covered. But and I know a lot of people don't have it covered, but it's not my fault and it's not really your fault either. The school system made you afraid to be an entrepreneur, made you go around with resumes, never business plans, begging people for work. And then anytime you need money, you say, you ask your boss for a raise or you got your hand out. As an entrepreneur, you basically say, oh, crap, I need 500 bucks this week. You go out and somehow invent a way to make someone's life better so that they give you $500. I mean, and the government has stolen that dream and ability from people, and I teach that to people. So how do we get by all the deaths? Well, we got to be spiritually strong and confident. We've gotten away from our religious foundations where we should believe that, for every ounce of evil, there's an ounce of good in the world, and sometime this is going to turn around
Are
in
you
goods.
are you a Christian?
I would say I'm a de facto Christian, which means I act like a Christian, but maybe don't participate in all their rituals. But I do believe in the original foundations, morality and ethics, right? Do unto others as I do unto you. Use your voice to preserve life on the planet, protect the children, the seniors, the females, and people that can't protect themselves. So yeah, I'm a de facto Christian, which means I do more Christian things than people that go to church. I'll tell you that right now. I'm not going to get tricked into injecting the devil's juice into me,
Yeah.
which a lot of card-carrying Christians did. There were churches giving out the armed darts, which is an abomination and it's evil to the nth degree. So, by their fruits you shall know them. I mean, the devil's biggest trick was to, number one, hide in the church, or number two, make you think he doesn't exist. And there's no greater proof of that than what's gone on over the last 5 years, where you have government staffers swooning over their abusers, can't comply fast enough with the armed darts, then they get blasted off the planet. And if they do believe in the Christian God going to have a word with them and say, I gave you life and you actually are here in front of me as a soul because you forgot why you were sent down there. And the devil tricked you to give up your heavenly body instead of go around and protect the children, the elderly, and the females. What are you doing? Oh, I wanted my pension. Well, that's probably not going to be a pretty good excuse in the face of God, that you wanted your pension, which of course the wrestlers have no intention. So if you're a government staffer out there, the government has no intention of ever paying you your pension unless it's in inflated dollars, where your $75,000 pension will buy you $10,000 worth of groceries. That's when you'll get your pension. That's it. They don't care about you. They don't like you. And to quote a famous author, Eustace Mullins, who tried to warn people 50 years ago of this, he says one of the only solutions is to start to hate them as much as they hate you. But the average person, hate costs some energy. And they're told that if they hate someone, they're a bad person, or if a man has some rage, he's a toxic masculinity. So they holster what they need to do right away and sit there like an obedient lapdog.
Jason, I got a confession to make. I don't know if I ever made it to you. I think you were on with me one other time. It was quite a while ago. But when the pandemic first started, I was under mind control. We both were. We washed everything down. We were so scared. We were scared the virus is going to get us. And I walked around here one day. Oh my God, this is bullshit. All of it. The whole works. And Jason, no, Jason Christoff talked me out of it. Nobody. I just went from here to there. And I do 100% know it's a spiritual connection, that what I'm supposed to be doing. is what I'm doing podcasts, spreading the news, connecting people. Uh, I know there's another side. I felt it. Like, I'm lucky I'm not taking them dart shots. I'm lucky I'm not under. I mean, in a way, I'm not lucky, but I'm seeing my own country falling apart. We could end up like Cuba, Jason, no power. What will we do? I watched you on another podcast. It was pretty good. I forget who it was, and you were talking about put a wood stove in, and I thought, I don't have the room here. I'd have to chuck something out. And I seen on Facebook this advertised several times. What do you think of solar generators? Could that be a way to go? That's from God, from the sky and everything. Would something like that be good for people if we lost power totally? What's your thoughts
Absolutely.
on it?
Absolutely. A solar generator. So, on my email list, we give out reviews of solar generators. There's more going out tomorrow. If anybody wants to get on that, it's free again because I care about you and your family and your kids. I don't want any harm to come to you. And I know this group inside and out. I've read their own documents. They don't like you. They don't want you around, and they will organize whatever wrestling show is needed so that you comply into the trap. Like, you'll be down at the coffee shop when there's no oil and say, yeah, the war in Iran, yeah, no oil, right? Why? Yeah, no, it's not. The oil's still there. All this video of them blowing this up and blowing that up. Again, Iran went after their own people with the AstraZeneca Spanish arm dart. They don't, it's the same thing as Canada. All the wrestlers are working together, and they raised the gas prices as soon as the first volley was done, where all the oil that they bought were sitting in the storage tanks were bought at the old price. They're going to screw you anyway. They're going to keep it up as long as they can. So solar powered generators by like EcoFlow or Jackery or Anchor. And as North Americans, to be honest with you, I can only get one of those brands in Latvia at quite a premium, and you over there can get them pretty cheaply. So, go on to YouTube, look up the best solar generators, or the best solar generators for 2025 or 2026, and you'll get a really good breakdown. You get them at a good discount in Canada. You can solar charge them. So if this group turns off the power, and God knows they will, because they're the most evil people you will ever read about in your entire life. They are pirates. They are murdering pirates is what they are, but they need you to comply. They will not put their hands on you and take you out themselves. They will trick you to do all that for them. So they will turn your power off. And if you got, fridge full of food and a freezer full of food, if you can get to the plugs, so get your plugs open and accessible. If you have one of these solar generators, so you can just wheel it out, and you can actually plug your fridge and your freezer into them. And if you get a big enough one, it'll run for 2 or 4 days, and then you can just unplug it when it's sunny out, and it'll give you a full charge in
Well,
about 2 hours.
they can be wired in for your whole place, can they not?
Yeah, they can be wired in for your whole place. And here's the thing where you can get your money back on them is that during peak time, so the actual battery will charge up and then turn your breaker box off at peak times and feed your whole house from the battery and the solar generator, and then only turn back on when the peak hours are done, so that when there's peak hours where they're screwing you the most, it's your own battery that's powering your whole house. So you can make your money back there, and you can be ready for their attack, because this group is about weakening you and disempowering you. And if you don't have your own power source to power your own fridge, you're disempowered and you're at their mercy. If you have a wood stove, you have your power back for heat. If you have your own well, you got your power back for water. If you have a solar charger for your phone, you got your power back for charging your phone. If you believe in a higher power, that's got your back. You got your power back from them who tries to replace God on this earth. So you can take your power back a little bit at a time. You can write a new script, and just eventually we're going to just have to show up and tell these, these pedophiles and pedivores that, we're no longer tolerating them. They're done. They're fired. And, we're going to have punishments for them depending on what their participation level was in basically firing people off this planet or causing unnecessary misery.
Jason, this was really big last summer here in Nova Scotia. I want your opinion on it. Like, these people are so evil. There are people living in rural communities, okay, outside of town, and you know how they want the 15-minute cities. So Tim Houston had a fire ban on. You couldn't walk through the woods because your sneakers would start a forest fire. They wanted to keep, in my opinion, they wanted to keep the innocent people out because they're lighting fires to burn people out of the rural community, the rural town, the rural communities, because they want people living in the town. And, I don't know how you fight that kind of thing, Jason, but I thought I'd bring it up. But it really just irks me that you punish an innocent person walking his dog through the woods like your sneakers are not going to catch a fire. Jeff Evely has taken the government to court. It's actually in the Nova Scotia courtroom about it. He got a fine for walking.
Yeah, I saw him.
Just for walking in the woods.
Well, this group, they know how to do things step by step. So you talked about the grocery stores. You got to connect some dots there. So they don't want you fishing. They don't want you hunting. They don't want you collecting blueberries. They don't want you anywhere near God's grocery store, because for them to be God on earth, you have to eliminate our access to God's great grocery store. So the only reason they're starting to ban you from the food that can sustain you and make you powerful is so they can tell you you can't fish anymore, you can't hunt, you can't pick the berries. And the best thing about saying you can't hunt is then I come up the next year and saying, since you can't hunt, give me your guns. Right? Give me your guns. And also in New Brunswick with the forest ban, they started, it had nothing to do with it, but they said we're going to ban the indoor shooting ranges and the outdoor shooting ranges as well that are like in and around the same areas, which of course starts off the idea in the listener's head, because it's propaganda, that there's some kind of sparking when you're shooting your weapon, which of course is very little. Never started a fire probably before in human history, except for the big muskets, of course. But they do a step-by-step approach so you don't even notice. So that's what you already told the story when you talked about the grocery stores. They don't want you having healthy food, or you might have some testosterone and get up off your couch. So they're going to tell you can't have the fish. You can have Bill Gates's 3D printed meat. And you can have the fake milk and the fake cheese, which they're ramming through the Canadian food system right now. So everything's going to be poison. And so when you're poisoned, you can't fight back. You got no testosterone. You don't have any bandwidth for rebellion, or you're afraid to speak up because you're so weak. You don't even have a job anymore. They're going to give you the universal basic income. And if you speak up against the government, your universal basic income doesn't work anymore. So they're just surrounding you because you're a weak animal.
With the digital ID, correct? Are they bringing that in Latvia too also?
Well, there's talk of it, right? But the thing is, they're going to go for the weakest animals first, and
it sounds like it's up in Canada.
It actually is, because the Canadians are taxed so much that they don't have any leeway or wiggle room for their daily routines. Things are getting stretched to an unimaginable level where they can't even think about making a petition or organizing a town hall or organizing a protest. So it has really nothing to do with extra weakness of the Canadians. It has to do with the taxation rate, their lack of freedoms, they don't see the sun a lot, which gives people higher testosterones and more power. So just the general environmental stimuli in Canada, where the taxation rates are the highest and you're traumatized by your own governments every single day. There's a new law, a new regulation. Now you can't quote the Bible, or it's hate speech, or they're coming for your... Yeah, well, take your pick. It's like shooting fish in a barrel. See this, see that, C7, C6, C4. It doesn't matter what it is. It's always about less for you, more for them, to the point where they're coming at you so fast now, you just hope that you'll be killed last. That might be, the dying wish of the Canadian. I hope to God they kill me last, so maybe it'll turn around. And that's how pathetic it's gotten. Like, I don't know if we're going to get any lower than what we got right now. So I tell people, look, it has nothing to do with going up and finding your wrestlers or writing to your wrestlers or, speaking to anybody else about this down at Tim Hortons. This has to do with you in your own house when no one's looking. If you're having a pull to the porn, if you're drinking some wine, if you're not exercising, if you're watching, if you're doom scrolling, like if you don't have a business, like if you don't make money to feed your family from scrolling the phone, what are you doing scrolling the phone? It's a waste of time. You're wasting your life away, right? So this is the thing. It has to do with you in your own house. If you're governing yourself like an idiot, be prepared to be governed like an idiot from the outside as well. Because that's what it's about. Govern yourself a little stronger. Learn some discipline. And if you're smoking 5 joints a day, go down to 3, go down to 2. It might take you 5 months, but quit destroying your power by your own hand with the excuse that it's medicine or it makes you sleep better. Like, holster that shit and grow up.
Jason, are you familiar with the Club of Rome? The plan is to bring us all one country. I think that's what Donald Trump, Pierre Poilievre, Mark Carney, they're all doing. Us to join the United States. They're going to make it so bad that we're going to want the Americans to come in. And if you search Club of Rome on Facebook, a map comes up. It shows us all one country. It's like it's scripted. This has been scripted a long time ago, Jason. I don't want to become American. I want a new constitution. I mean, I'm rooting for Gordon Berry, and people across Canada are getting together to do this. And I'm not going to throw all my marbles in one basket. I'd like to see Peter McIsaac and a bunch of independents come in. Nobody should have complete control of anything, but we need out. Everything's been corrupted since birth, Jason. Our birth certificates, everything's corporate up here. It's all been a lie. It's all been a lie to us. That's what I've learned in the past 5 years. What are your thoughts?
Well, get behind whatever new power initiative that you want, but show up as strong men. Don't show up as weak men, right? Like, it's one thing to show up with 20 men at a town hall that have beer bellies and basically don't exercise and drink after. Show up as organized men. Men that have taken a boxing class, has taken a martial arts class, men who work out, men who know their morality, men that are ethical, men that are strong, that know their place on the planet, that defend women, that defend children. Follow whoever you wish, but when you follow behind anybody, make sure that the group you're approaching are intimidated by your physical presence and your moral strength. That's the way you start swaying the opposition, because all these wrestlers are the weakest specimens that humanity has ever put forward, and they're the most mentally defective that humanity has ever produced. So we have to counter that by putting down that group's alcohol, that group's tobacco, that group's Netflix. I mean, the CEO of Netflix, when it first started, was Mark Rudolph Bernays. That was Edward Bernays' great nephew. Bernays wrote the book Propaganda and Crystallizing Public Opinion. Netflix is a mind control buffet. So we need to show up strong, and our dream job can't be, working for Darth Vader down at the Death Star. Our dream job of Canadians has to shift away from polishing the shaft of the local government official. That has to stop being the dream job of Canadians, or they're going to end up 6 feet underground with a different Canadian name, and no one will remember. There won't be a page written about them in the history book that'll be propagandized, taught to our great-great-grandchildren. We have to get stronger, and that means morally as well, and ethically, and physically, and financially, and spiritually.
We need all the above, don't we? Have you watched Canada, The Illusion
Yes.
on YouTube?
Yes.
That's what we're facing. I know I kept you for quite a while, Jason, and I know you are extremely busy, and I really appreciate getting you on here. Like, Canadians need to hear your voice. And I'd really love to have you back on again if I'm not sitting in a jail cell somewhere or shot or something, because I feel Canada is gone down, and we need people like you. You get the spare feeling that you need to do something. I had that to get you on. I have to get Jason Christoff on, and I do, like, the mind control. 100%. I see.
Well, I'll tell people, look, you want to start changing the world, changing your own house. Get your family together, watch Planet Mind Control. It's free. It's only an hour and 10 minutes. And then after that, you could watch, there's another film I suggest you watch. If you like watching film, we all like watching a good story, right? We love the wrestling. There's a good film called The Jones Plantation. You go to jonesPlantation.com. Best $10 you'll ever spend. Great film. Teach you everything you need to know about the situation you're in. And only then, once you know where you are and who you really are, can you move out in the vector direction of a solution. So until you know that it's wrestling, till you know that all the actors are reporting to one top-level boss, the flags aren't real, the country names aren't real, they're not leaders, they're wrestlers. Your political parties, the different names, it doesn't matter. Left foot, right foot, left foot, right foot, walking in the Club of Rome's agenda. We really and it's not like an agenda to make us flourish. It's an agenda to actually end our lives and remove anybody that doesn't like what, if they kill 5 people in front of me and then I speak up, I'll be killed. I mean, this is not a system that you want to be living under. And it's step by step, and they're starting to normalize it now with the MAID and, go into the clinical diagnosis, behavioral problems. All they need to do is say, if you speak up, you have a behavioral problem and you're going to be mated right off the planet. So, ladies and gentlemen, you still got time. Do it. Start in your own house. Start removing the poisons that they trick you to consume that make you weak. Your weakness is the foundational cornerstone of how they get away with all this BS. It's really important that you get strong.
Wow. Well, Jason, I enjoyed you on the podcast. I really did. And what I do with all my guests, I let them have the last say. And I know you want to tell people about your website or any news you have to share with Nova Scotia and Canada. And the floor is yours, my friend.
Well, yeah, thanks, Tony. I just don't let it overwhelm you. Don't get stressed out. Keep your wits about you. Have believe in a higher power that's got your back. That's really, really important, that no storm lasts forever. And I can teach you for free. And anytime, I'll teach you for free 4 times a week about what's happening, how to prepare, how to sidestep it. So it's not just black-pilled, the world is over. It's just like, okay, this is happening, this is really bad, here's my solution. And you can get educated for free. Get on my email. Just email me at info@j, so it's a single initial J, jchristoff.com, info@jchristoff.com. Email me personally. I'll put you on the list, and we can get strong together, because no one wins unless everybody wins. And I'm for you, your partner, your family, your kids, and your community. And I don't care how old you are, what color you are, sexual orientation. I do not care. I don't want evil to find you. Sometimes, God's realm can be suffering based too. We lose a parent or something, but a parent dying a natural death under God's law is very different than a screen mind controlling your mother to go V-dart herself off the planet. One is evil and unnatural. One is natural, and we got to get back to the natural way on this planet.
Jason, thank you very much for joining us on the podcast this morning on April the 1st, not an April Fool's. We had a great guest on today. Thank you, Jason.
Always a pleasure, Tony.
God bless you, my friend.
Thank you.
Bye for now.
If anyone chooses to not get vaccinated, there will be consequences.
A man got the shot, did what he was told. Now he's lying in a bed, body broken, soul on hold. He used to run, he used to climb. Now he can't feed himself, can't turn back time. He picked up a camera, asked the questions no one would. Knocked on every door he could, tried to do some good. But silence met his every turn, and truth became a bridge that some would rather burn. Why can't we talk about this? What are we hiding from? Is a life less worthy if it threatens what we've done? He wasn't spreading fear, he was searching for the facts. Why can't we talk about this and have each other's backs? Doctors wouldn't talk, scared to lose their right to heal. Videos got flagged and banned, misinfo stamped in steel. They just shut their doors, friends turned the other way. But the story wouldn't die, it just found another way. Contamination in the files, data no one shared. And the ones who raised the warning lost their titles, no one cares. There's a program for the injured, but it's broken under play. Like a promise made in panic that the system never paid. Why can't we talk about this? What are we afraid we'll see? That the cost of mass compliance isn't always injury-free. He's not anti-anything, just a man who chose to speak. Why can't we talk about this for the wounded and the weak?
Ignore the people undermining faith in science. Take that shot.
Now the messages pour in, quiet voices breaking through. They say I thought I was alone, but now I see it too. It's not a war, it's not a fight, it's a cry for care, a plea for right. Why can't we talk about this? How long can we pretend that truth is just a weapon and the silence is our friend? He gave the hurt a name, he gave the pain a face. Why can't we talk about this and make this world a safer place? It's there for all to witness. No sponsors, no disguise, just a film made out of courage. And the questions no one dares to finalize.